Morning, everybody. Welcome to CEO Chat. My name is Al Cini, and you are, as always. Can we shake hands now?
Yes, we can.
Joe Asamendi.
Right.
And we have a terrific guest, as we always do. But this one's an extra special guest, a guy I've known for a while, great guy to work with and do business with. His name is Evan Shweky, and he is the founder CEO of De La Rosa Asset Management Group.
That's right.
But there is so much more to Evan Shweky, and we're going to explore all those angles. But Evan, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
Thank you for having me. And I just want to up front tell you, I appreciate the precautions that you guys took regarding COVID. We were wearing masks up until we got here. They took my temperature, and I appreciate it.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's something the station's very careful about. So, but Evan Shweky, talk about De La Rosa Asset Management Group first, and then we'll get into the other stuff you're doing, which is very interesting.
Sure. So, De La Rosa Asset Management has a number of different arms. We have and we'll be talking mostly about our lending division. We have another multifamily portfolio that we own and manage, and we also do ground up construction development, and we also do fix and flip. So we are all about real estate, and we've dipped our hands in different areas of real estate. So that's really my primary business. In the last 6 months, I've actually started a YouTube channel. I like to compete with these, I don't know if it's the Gen Zs or whatever, the 20-plus-year-olds, and it's called Swipe Left for Success.
Okay.
And it's all about, the goal is really about personal development, and also right now, at least because of COVID, we've been unable to necessarily get guests on and to do what we really want. So what I've done is taken the time now to create little segments that talks about real estate, for people looking into getting into real estate and building wealth for themselves, and dealing with topics that they're going to face, and but it's also applicable to entrepreneurs as well, because it's all about learning to deal with adversity. So yeah,
we're all experts in that this year. We've all had a chance to deal with that.
That's right.
But one of the things that excited me about having you on the program, Evan, is because you, when it comes to the real estate market, have forgotten more than most people ever knew. And so that whole idea of your real estate expertise, which is part of what you do on, I guess, Swipe Left for Success, is a big part of your value proposition. But before we get into that, when the banks say no, De La Rosa says yes.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Right.
Okay.
So that's exactly right. So we are an alternative investment tool for real estate investors who identify value in a property. And most banks, thankfully for our business, most banks are so conservative, and they'll have a checklist of 50 things that you have to meet in order to qualify for the loan, and you didn't meet number 49, but you met the other 48 or 49 things, and they say no.
Right.
And then you come to me and I'm like, my God, you've got a great credit score, you've got this. Okay, you're missing a little something here, but everything else makes sense. So then typically what happens, and we're a little bit more unique than some other hard money lending firms in that I like to say that we want to educate our borrowers. We have a lot of seasoned investors, obviously, as well, who in a lot of cases actually know a lot more than I do. But I like to keep it personalized, right? Because the whole idea is, and especially during COVID, right? We are tribal. We need contact with people. And I don't like to be a bank where you go in, you sign the documents, and you just don't hear from them, and unless you don't make a payment. Then there's a phone call, And in fact, I think, Al, I spoke to you the other day about how I'd gotten a text message from a woman who she had taken a loan from us, and unfortunately she had issues with the property, and the loan was due almost like 6 or 7 months ago, and she just closed and sold the property and repaid the loan, and she sent me this beautiful text. And it really actually made me feel good. She said, I want to thank you so much, because anybody else who would have done that loan would have started a foreclosure proceeding, because she hadn't made any payments or whatever. But I knew who she was, and realistically I knew there was equity in the property.
Sure.
But that's what I think delineates us from other firms. We keep all of our loans in-house. I partner with a private equity firm who loves our business model and loves that personal relationship that we develop.
Right.
And so we can move very quickly.
Well,
So-
and that, I mean, that's critical. You shared a text message with me, and that is a wonderful message, rare for a customer of a bank to send the bank a message like this fine lady sent to you. I mean, because and you also mentioned on the phone in our pre-interview that there are an awful lot of people who do business with you, even though your rates are higher than a bank, because they prefer the way you do business to a bank.
It gives them a sense of comfort, right? To know that if they run into, so for instance, part of our lending businesses are for people who fix and flip properties, or they buy a dilapidated property that needs to be rehabbed, and then they'll either sell it or they rent it, and then they refinance with traditional bank financing. And so what happens more times than not is they'll give us a budget as to what the repairs are going to be, and there's always something that comes up, right? The unexpected.
Sure.
And sometimes there are issues where they may have a shortfall of cash, and I don't want their house. I want them to
You want them-
succeed.
you want
I
them
mean,
to
and that's the
succeed.
goal. Part of the reason I had opened this business, I was a trader on Wall Street for 8 years, and prior to that, I was a commercial real estate attorney.
Okay.
But one thing I've learned is when you help people, first of all, it makes you feel good.
Right.
And it's actually good for business, right? No one wants to hear about how De La Rosa foreclosed, and we've been in business 3 years. We've only started one foreclosure, and I don't even think we're going to go through the whole process. But that was a unique situation. But I've had so many situations where I think a traditional lender or even a hard money lender would have said, you know what, we can't do this. But I always feel like there's got to be a solution where everybody can be happy.
How'd you name your company?
That's a wonderful question. So my last name is Shweky. My father was born in Israel, and it's a Syrian. They're of Syrian descent, and in my family, it was very. Shweky was like, I have a lot of relatives in Israel, and they named their businesses Shweky this, Shweky that. My brother has a company called Shweky Developers, and I said, you know what? My grandmother, who was born in Algeria, she is of Spanish descent, and her maiden name was De La Rosa.
Okay.
I'm like, that's a beautiful name.
Yeah.
It is.
I want to honor my grandmother.
There you go.
So that's how so they can have the Shweky, and I am a Shweky.
And there you go. And you are
But
a
I love
Shweky,
De La
but
Rosa.
I think it's
Yeah.
a great name, and it's a
Thank
great
you.
company, and you are a real gentleman to do business with, which is,
Thank you.
and we've had that chance, and that was why I was excited about getting you on the program, because it's unusual. You hear the word mensch all the time. It's unusual to actually meet one, and you were definitely
Thank
in
you.
that category of human
Thank
being.
you. I'm
So-
trying. I'm trying.
No, you succeed, and but I also want to talk about the swipe left for success content that you're developing for people who are out there watching the program. If you want to get a sense of what this guy knows, Evan Shweky, you can Google swipe left for success and see your YouTube content.
Right. So if you go to YouTube, if you go onto YouTube.com and you plug in swipe left for success, it'll come on. And we've just started filling it with content, and it'd be great if our people who are watching would subscribe to the channel. And it's really like a passion. It's sort of on my bucket list, and I wanted to do this for 3 or 4 years, and I put it off, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do this, and I've started, and I have an editing team that's dealing with stuff. I started out writing the scripts, and it's really a labor of love, because I enjoy it, and I know it's going to. It's when I talk. So the real estate material that I put on, it's real stuff.
Right.
I'm not, and part of the impetus for this is you go online and you see these 20-something-year-olds telling you how you can be a millionaire overnight, and sign up for my course and this and that, and I look at this, and I also speak at real estate seminars all around the Northeast, and people would come up to me and they'd tell me they spent $50,000 on a real estate course, and I'd say to them, I don't want to tell them what I really think, but I'm like, so how's it going?
Right.
And they say, we're saving up money now for our first investment, right? And the fact of the matter is, all that material, it's out there. You just have to work
Just look for it.
and search for it. So I said to myself, I want to give free content, but tell the real story. Right? Everyone says you don't need money for real estate. I needed money to start my real estate career. You do need money, so I tell it like it is, black and white. But I tell it in a way that anybody can do it, and again, I'm not just going to be talking about real estate. It's about being an entrepreneur, being independent. Especially nowadays, there is no loyalty at any of these Fortune 1000 companies. Right? If you're expendable, you're expendable, and you want to ultimately be. And this is what I try to teach people. You want to be Mr. Shweky. Right? Not when I first came out of law school and I was at a law firm, and I'll tell you this, I got laid off after 2 years. There was a real estate crisis. This is in the early 90s. I went home to my father, and I was like, and this is sort of my swipe left moment, and we can get into that. And I said to him, I said, I'm at a big firm. I loved it. I love the people. And they basically, I took it personally because I defined myself by my job.
By your job.
Exactly.
And my father looked at me, he's like, it's the best thing that ever happened to you. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, because now you're Mr. Shweky. You're not Evan Shweky from the
Such
firm
and
I
such
was
a firm
at.
or whatever
I'm
that
like,
is.
you know what? You're right. So when you get laid off, you're the same person. You're upset and
Sure.
and especially now during COVID, and it's awful, right? There were, I don't know, there's like 10 million jobs now that have been lost at this point, and a lot of people are struggling, and that's part of what I want to end up doing is talk about on the site people who had these pivotal moments, right, where they could have gone conventional way, which is swipe right, and it may not have worked out. But if they open their eyes to other opportunities that are not conventional, right, and take swipe left, and so the name Swipe Left for
Swipe left.
Success, we are a swipe right society, right? People go on Tinder, right? Instant gratification. This person looks like what I like, but you've never tried to meet someone who's slightly different, who might, I don't know, bring insight to you that you've never thought about, or opportunities that you never thought about. And so it's about opening up your eyes to all the opportunities and then making an educated decision.
And, we have to take a break, but before we do that, I want to say I've watched the content, and it's educational. It's not selling. You get to know Evan, but you also get to know what Evan knows, and that I think is the real value of that content.
Thank you.
And you also talk to people who know a lot, and it's a great way to learn who that next version of yourself might be. Swiping left instead of swiping right and looking for the same old job you just left.
Exactly.
You can swipe left and maybe look for a different alternative that might be more fulfilling and maybe even more enriching.
Exactly.
So, Evan, it's great. We'll be right back with more CEO Chat and Evan Shweky of De La Rosa Asset Management after these messages.
Your event, simply beautiful. Is it your attire, your decorations, your entertainment? Well, join me, Alicia Simone, as I chat with some amazing vendors and clientele who will share their stories and images and their experiences. Right here on RVN TV, Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. and Wednesday at 4 p.m. It will be simply beautiful. See you then.
We're back.
We are back. Welcome back to CEO Chat. My name is Al Cini.
Joe Osmendi here.
Didn't I tell you this was going to be a great program?
Absolutely.
And I knew it was going to be a great program because I know this guy. I've worked with him. So Evan Shweky of De La Rosa Asset Management. but also with so many other things. We talked about your content on Swipe Left for Success. Let's talk a little bit about why I know you love what you do and you do what you love. Talk a little bit about that. Where does this all come from?
So it's interesting, and I look at my journey, and it really has been a journey, because I did things that I didn't enjoy, and it impacted every other aspect of my life. Right? If you don't like your job, you probably don't like your life. At least with me, it was hard to separate my work week from my personal life, because I knew Monday morning I'd have to go into the job that I didn't enjoy. And your whole attitude on life and everything changes when you can't wait for Monday morning. True. Which is, and you have a show, right?
Yes.
Monday morning coffee or something.
He does. There's morning coffee on
Morning, okay. So,
He's already excited about it.
so I started out, I went to law school right after college, wasn't sure, I didn't have any direction, and I always tell people the best thing I ever did was go to law school. The worst thing I ever did was practice law.
No kidding.
Okay.
Become a
Yeah,
lawyer.
and I just felt drudgery. I felt like I was always on the clock, and I didn't even enjoy working with my clients. And so I did that for 4 or 5 years, and I knew I was interested in finance, and so I took 2 steps back, because I had my pivotal moment, my swipe left moment, where I'm like, where do I go from here? I don't want to be a lawyer,
Right.
but I do want to be on Wall Street. But I'm already close to 30 years old, and I did what I had to do to get into the door on Wall Street. So I was 31, 32, working with 23-year-olds. But within 3 years, I was a trader running a small office for Royal Bank of Canada with 15 traders under me. But there was a lot of pain to get to that point. And so that's where that's sort of part of the whole concept of Swipe Left for Success, where you're at this pivotal point in your life, and you have to make a very uncomfortable decision, right? But that uncomfortable decision may give you that satisfaction long-term down the road.
Right.
And so it's all about building resiliency and being able to say to yourself, this is in my best interest in the long term, right? And we always have to think long term, not like what we're doing next month, because otherwise we'll stay at our 9-to-5 job, right? To make ends meet. What is and it's not about money either. It's about doing something that you enjoy, that really gives you satisfaction. Now listen, if you're an artist and your stuff is just awful, like Van Gogh, poor guy, no one recognized him until after he died, but he did what he loved, right? And he gave up his ear for it. He did what he loved. And that's what I try to build on the Swipe Left for Success. And again, right now I'm just focusing on my niche, which is real estate, but it's going to expand into other areas and getting people on. I'll give you an example. I have a woman who borrows from us on a regular basis. And in the fix and flip space, people who buy dilapidated properties, I'd say 80% of the borrowers are male. She was a school teacher, okay? She was a school teacher. She's done almost 40 flips. She owns a 10-unit apartment unit. Wow. She has 3 kids under 11 years old.
Wow.
She's amazing. She went from teaching 3rd grade and having no experience in real estate. She made that, and she, in the beginning, did both.
Sure.
Right.
And then she made the decision to leave being an educator, which she had been taught to do until she was in her mid-30s, right? That was going to be her life.
Right.
But she found something else that she loved. She loved real estate.
That's great.
And it's just and eventually she's going to be, she'll be a guest on my show where we could talk about how did you make that pivot? How did you deal with like a male-dominated industry and going into Home Depot with these guys at 7 in the morning and like pushing your way around to get what you needed to get?
Right.
And I mean, that's just one example, but the whole idea is to find your passion, right? Our most limiting resource is time. Don't waste your time doing something you hate.
I see you as a catalyst for presenting opportunities for people.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's part of the joy of what I do, is because when people say, what do you do? I don't like to say a hard money lender. I hate that
Right.
word. And the name, by the way, they say call it hard money because you're getting a hard asset. You're taking a real estate as opposed to being like a hard heart or something.
Right.
But I look at it as partnering with, so look, we have a lot of seasoned investors who are extremely successful, and they may have utilized their whole line of credit with Bank of America, but they found a 12-unit apartment building they want to buy, and they need short-term financing, so they'll come to us. So, and that's, you know, a good part of our business. But then there are people who've maybe done one or two flips, and they'll come to us, and I always discuss the property with them. And I'll tell you, a lot of times I say, you know what, I can make this loan to you, and other firms will probably make the loan to you, but I don't want to make this loan because the margins are so thin. I'll make my money, and I'll make good money,
Sure.
but you may not.
But
and
you
I don't
won't.
want you to be discouraged. I want you to, you know, if you have to wait another 6 months or a year to find a really good
Right.
project, and
Right.
you can send it to me, and I'll look at it, because I want to be, like this, it makes me feel good to
Right.
be able to help you. And
Right.
and so that again, it's about helping people,
Right.
and I'm making money at the same time. I'm not going
It's
to lie,
a
I
bad
do
thing.
enjoy
mean,
that.
It's a profitable thing. You know, you were talking a little bit, obviously a big part of the audience might be considering getting into the real estate flipping business, and you would be a good resource to talk to, not just for the money, but also for the advice. When we've talked to people who've been successful at flipping, it's not just the money. It's about that day when they hand the keys over to the person who buys the property they flipped, and they see that look on their face because they've connected with a human being and solved a problem for them.
And it makes me feel good because I know I was part of the solution.
You're part of
right?
that chain.
Because that improvement in the neighborhood would not have happened without our help.
If it weren't you,
You know,
if it
so
weren't for
so
you.
people have to look at whatever it is in business. People will say, you know, Wall Street, oh, they're this and that, but our economy would not work without Wall Street.
If it weren't for
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, listen, you can argue, you know, this guy's making 10 million or whatever, but when you really look at the companies that are like improving this world, and I always tell people, you want to improve the world, you know, you can go and it's good to, you know, make a stance and boycott or whatever, but you need money to change the world.
Right.
You
Right.
want to change the world, right? We want to clean the oceans. My daughter is working on a project now where they collect, like, I don't know, garbage out of the ocean,
Right.
and they create things with some of the plastic and things like that. But you need money to send
Sure,
the boat
to do
out
that.
there to do that.
To do
And so,
that.
and that's the other thing I want people to learn about is not to be afraid of money. Is just something that you use to do whatever you want with.
Well,
It's
tool.
nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to say is evil.
Right.
It's not kind. It's just there. It's a means to achieve whatever it is that you want out of life.
You're also in your own way on the forefront of a movement. The world is shifting kind of from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism, where we're just as concerned about the impact we have on the world as about the impact that we have on the people we're directly doing business with.
And that is part of the problem. So that's part of the problem with public companies, right? They're so short-sighted. They only care about their earnings for this particular quarter instead of taking a long-term picture and say, you know what, we may have to lose a little money here now, but to create shareholder value and the value in our world, and because our world, we do have limited resources
Right,
now,
exactly.
right? And we do have to worry about the next generation. And you don't have to make every dime, right? So if you could cut down on and I don't want to get into politics,
Right.
but
Neither do we, but it's okay.
So listen,
avoid it?
You want to do good things.
Sure.
All right, you want to do good things.
Yeah.
And if it means you have to spend a little more money on your end as a company, so you spend it.
Yeah.
You know, you want to. Someone wise once told me, to have a great day, you just need to do two things. One, take one small step toward whatever your goal is, your short-term and your longer-term goal, whatever that may be. And two, and this is more important, do one small act of kindness. And it could be, unfortunately, it's more difficult now. It could be just smiling at someone at the
Right.
supermarket, right? You know, when someone smiles at you, it disarms you, right? I bet you your heart rate slows down. It doesn't matter who it is. It's free. Doesn't cost you. So, and that's an act of kindness. So even if you actually, so I say, you just need to do one thing a day. If you do the act of kindness, you can forgive yourself for not taking that small step toward whatever your ultimate goal is. And the goal is to go to bed at night. And I've said this to people, like, and when it comes to business, and hopefully with personal relationships, but sometimes, I don't know, you may hurt someone and you would hope they would come talk to you, but when it comes to business, I've never gone to bed at night saying, you know, I screwed that guy over, but I made an extra $10,000.
Right.
Never.
Right.
And that feels good.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that should feel good. I mean,
feels
that's,
good.
yeah, I don't think too many people pay attention to that. But making connections with people who watch the program and reasons why they should call Evan, for sure. If you're interested in a flip and you want to talk to De La Rosa about financing it, interested in anything for that matter, give Evan Shweky a call. But the second thing is, and this is the biggie for me, COVID has handed millions of people in this country, all over the world, in fact, a turning point. There are an awful lot of people who are not where they thought they would be this year, are not at all anywhere near where they were this time last year because of COVID. So when life hands you a turning point, you need an expert to help you take advantage of it. That's really swipe left for success, isn't it?
It is, and you raise a good point. So, right, we can look at COVID as a curse.
Right.
I actually look at it as a blessing, but we won't see the blessing for another couple years, because when we get out of this, it's like someone who is always happy, and I say to them, that's amazing. I would not want to always be happy, because then I won't appreciate being happy.
Right.
You got to be sad to appreciate being happy.
Sure.
And so, yes, people now are. A lot of people are in jobs where they're not feeling secure, or they're out of a job. So they have to think, what is different now? What can I do? You know, how has our environment changed? Okay, is there something that I can do that's unique? Or do I have to go back? And the other thing I want to say is that the reason I'm doing this Swipe Left for Success programming is, education is the key to everything, right? You can't just go, you have to educate yourself. And I always tell people, and Warren Buffett always talks about 80% of his time is spent reading. I love to read, but, or I love watching videos, educational videos, and I'm always learning. Because I make mistakes all the time. Right? And that's one of the things I love about my YouTube channel is I'm going to talk about my mistakes. My successes will not help you. You want to know how I dealt with a situation, or how I made, and listen, in my lending, I've had loans, or I've lent to people where I thought they were somebody else, and I was hurt because of that. Not often, but I made mistakes. Sure. And those are things, that I'd like to talk about, because that's the best thing you can do as you get older and you get wiser, is to teach the next generation, or those who really want to learn, right? You got to, some people want a magic pill, right? They take a course and they're like, I'm going to be there's no magic pill. Right. It's taken me years to get to where I am now, years. And I struggled at times, as we all do. Anyone that tells you they haven't struggled is lying to you. But sometimes with these courses, you look at the struggle and you're like, that's not real. They'll tell you about everyone died, but they were, and then they lost to this and that. But, realistic. They have to be, realistic. But we all struggle, and we have to know that tomorrow is a new opportunity. It's always an opportunity, and you have to create your own luck. If you stay at home and you cry, and it's okay to cry initially, but then you have to say, you know what? I am as capable as anybody else out there. And that's what I love about my business. I have people who were working in very menial jobs, but they saved money up, and they went into this, and now they're independent. They work for themselves,
And they're still friends.
Right.
Yeah.
And you still know them.
Exactly. I mean, people who left school in 10th grade, and it's just great. And we all come from different backgrounds or whatever, but the opportunities in this country are unlimited. And don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. And if you have a passion for something, be realistic, have a plan, and go for it.
I think what you do also is you reinforce the thing that everybody's adaptable. Adaptability to anything can overcome any kind of situation.
Yeah,
if we're stodgy and we don't want to change, and look, we're in an environment now, right? I mean, sometimes I feel antiquated.
Right.
And I say to myself, I started a YouTube channel. I'm up there with those 15 and 20-year-old kids on Twitch or whatever. So, and it's fine.
Good.
So we'll go head to head.
Now, we're at that part of the program where we're just about to wrap. I would like to think that your appearance today on CEO counts for both of those two things you need to do. A little step forward in what you're trying to accomplish,
I hope
and
so.
a nice thing to do for people. It's certainly been great having you on the program.
Thank you. It's been a joy to
and thanks for the mug. Swipe left for success.
Pleasure.
Take a look in your camera and tell everybody how they can reach you.
So you can actually, all my information is on our website. It's De La Rosa llc.com. And then I would say if you do go to the Swipe Left for Success site, you go to YouTube and just plug in Swipe Left for Success. You should subscribe. It's free. And I just want to add, everything I put there is free. I'm not selling a program. It's basically just years of experience, giving my knowledge and the knowledge of our guests. And we will start having guests in the next couple months, but this COVID has put a damper. We have a whole room, we set up a media room, and the couch is just sitting there empty, but we will fill it. We will fill it soon enough.
Well, that's great. We wish you every success with that, Evan. And,
thank you.
Thank you all for joining us today on CEO Chat with a terrific guest, Evan Shweky. Joe, have a great weekend.
You too, man.
What a pleasure. It's always fun working with you. And we can do that.
It is.
And so we'll see you again next week for another CEO Chat.
As I said, be kind to each other, take care of yourself, use common sense, and have a great weekend.
Definitely.
Good words of wisdom.